Hi, you're welcome back. This is part 2 of lesson 7 of our training on procurement management for works. The title of this lesson is Sections of the General Conditions of Contract for Small Works. In part 1, we talked about section A, General Provisions section of the General Conditions of Contract for Small Works. In this session, we are going to discuss section B, which is about time control, section C, which talks about quality control, section D, which is about cost control, and finally section E, which is finishing the contracts. The GCC, or General Conditions of Contract, stipulates the requirement for submission of the works program and its updates by the contractor to the project manager for approval. The project manager's approval of the program shall not alter the contractor's obligations. The contractor may revise the program and submit it to the project manager again at any time. A revised program shall show the effect of variations and compensation events. The contractor is required to submit to the project manager progress report showing: number 1, the actual progress achieved and the effect of the progress achieved on the timing of the remaining works at intervals no longer than the period stated in the particular conditions of contract. Number 2, the metrics of reporting on environmental and social issues as required in the specifications and or the appendix to the GCC. Number 3, reporting on any incident or accident in the site or any other event that is likely to have a significant adverse effect on the environment, the affected communities, the public, the employer's personnel or contractor's personnel, or damage to private property, or any allegation of sexual exploitation and abuse and or sexual harassment. Note: reporting accidents causing fatality or serious injury must be immediate. The project manager shall extend the intended completion date if a compensation event occurs or a variation is issued which makes it impossible for completion to be achieved by the intended completion date. If the contractor has failed to give early warning of a delay or has failed to cooperate in dealing with a delay, the delay caused by this failure shall not be considered in assessing the new intended completion date. Section C, Quality Control. The project manager shall check the contractor's work and notify the contractor of any defects that are found. The project manager may instruct the contractor to search for a defect and to uncover and test any work that the project manager considers may have a defect. If the project manager instructs the contractor to carry out a test not specified in the specifications to check whether any work has a defect, and the test shows that it does, the contractor shall pay for the test and samples. If there is no defect, the test shall be a compensation event. The project manager shall give notice to the contractor of any defect before the end of the defect liability period, which begins at the completion and is defined in the particular conditions of contract. The defect liability period shall be extended for as long as defects remain to be corrected. The contractor shall correct the notified defect within the length of time specified by the project manager's notice. If the contractor has not corrected a defect within a time specified in the notice, the project manager shall assess the cost of having the defect corrected and the contractor shall pay this amount. Section D, Cost Control. The bill of quantities or schedule of activities is used to calculate the contract price. The contractor will be paid for the quantity of the work accomplished at the rate in the bill of quantities or schedule of activities for each item or activity. Variations. The contractor shall provide the project manager with a quotation for carrying out the variation when requested to do so by the project manager. The contractor shall also provide information of any environmental and social risks and impact of the variation. The project manager shall assess the quotation, which shall be given within 7 days of the request or when any longer or within any longer period stated by the project manager and before the variation is ordered. If the contractor's quotation is unreasonable, the project manager may order the variation and make a change to the contract price, which shall be based on the project manager's own forecast of the effect of the variation on the contractor's cost. The contractor shall not be entitled to additional payment for costs that could have been avoided by giving early warning. The value of work executed shall comprise the value of the quantities of work in the bill of quantities or the value of the schedule of activities that has been completed. The value of work executed shall include the valuation of variations and compensation events. If the contractor fails to perform any environmental and social obligations or work under the contracts, the value of this work or obligation, as determined by the project manager, may be withheld until the work or obligation has been performed and or the cost of rectification or replacement as determined by the project manager may be withheld until rectification or replacement has been completed. The project manager shall pay the contractor the amount certified by the project manager within 28 days of the date of each certificate. If the employer makes a late payment, the contractor shall be paid interest on the late payment in the next payment. Compensation event. The following shall be the compensation events. Number one is when the employer does not give access to a part of the site by the site possession date. And that compensation event is when the employer modifies the schedule of other contractors in a way that affects the work of the contractor under the contract. Number three is when the project manager orders a delay or does not issue drawings, specifications, or instructions required for execution of the work on time. Number four is when the project manager instructs the contractor to uncover or to carry out additional tests upon work, which is then found to have no defects. Number five is when the project manager unreasonably does not approve a subcontract to be let. Number six, when ground conditions are substantially more adverse than could reasonably have been assumed before issuance of letter of acceptance from the information issued to bidders, including the site investigation report, from information available publicly, and from a visual inspection of the site. Number seven is when the project manager gives an instruction for dealing with an unforeseen condition caused by employer or additional work required for safety or other reasons. Number eight is when other contractors, public authorities, utilities, or the employer does not work within the dates and other constraints stated in the contract and they cause delay or extra cost to the contractor. Number nine is when the advance payment is delayed. Number 10 is when the effect on the contractor of any of the employer's risk occurred. Number 11 is when the project manager unreasonably delays issuing a certificate of completion. If a compensation event would cause additional cost or would prevent the work being completed before the intended completion date, the contract price shall be increased or the intended completion date shall be extended. The project manager shall decide whether and by how much the contract price shall be increased, and whether and by how much the intended completion date shall be extended. Price adjustment. The general conditions of contract for small work stipulates a simple price adjustment formula that uses a catch-all index from the pertinent sector of the construction industry. The formula for each payment currency is as follows. PC is equal to AC plus BC IMC over IOC, where PC is the adjustment factor for the portion of the contract price payable in a specific currency, say. The particular conditions of contract, however, may prescribe a price adjustment formula that is more elaborate, similar to the one used in large works, and based on the change of price indices of various inputs like materials, labor, equipment, and fuel. Advance payment to the contractor, retention money, and liquidated damages are applied at the rate stipulated in the PCC. The performance security shall be valid until a date 28 days from the date of issue of the certificate of completion in the case of a bank guarantee. Finishing the contract. The contractor shall request the project manager to issue a certificate of completion of works, and the project manager shall do so upon deciding that the whole of the work is completed. Number 2 is final account. The contractor shall supply the project manager with a detailed account of the total amount that the contractor considers payable under the contract before the end of the period. Number 3, defect liability period. The project manager shall issue a defect liability certificate and certify that any final payment that is due to the contractor within 56 days of receiving the contractor's account, if it is correct and complete. 4. If it is not, the project manager shall issue within 56 days a schedule that says the scope of the corrections or additions that are necessary. If the final account is still unsatisfactory after it has been resubmitted, the project manager shall decide on the amount payable to the contractor and issue a payment certificate. Thank you for watching. That brings us to the end of this particular lesson. Join us in our next lesson, which is general conditions of contract for large works, that is FIDIC conditions. See you then.